Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. Thrilled today to have our schedules work out with my guest. You're going to find him fascinating. I know I've done my research. I'm ready to dive in. He's done fitness. He's done his personal training. He made a career change. He's had a run at sales. He's had a great journey. And, Eric Ianniello, welcome to the show, man. How are you?
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Great is in the loose of the term, man. Let's just say I had a full head
Hey,
of hair
man,
before I started sales, you
we'll
know?
start high and just work down. I mean, we'll set the bar high, and then by the end, they can make their own
Yeah.
determination, man.
Yeah, yeah. But
Well,
great to have it, man. Thanks so much for letting me on, man. I've been
no,
looking
man, I
forward to this.
appreciate it. I know schedules get stupid, and I appreciate you working with me and families and such like that, right? So it's been one I've circled on my calendar, and I'm like, all right, like we're knocking this out because I had my entire book of notes, which I get to about half of it. And then like
Yeah,
anybody who's listened to the show knows I just drift off and like, whatever strikes my fancy. Right. So in
that's the
terms
beauty
of
of it,
that,
man.
but,
That's the beauty of it.
but seriously, as I looked at your background and I knew you from your videos and we're going to get to all your damn videos. Like, I mean, I could probably take a half hour there,
Oh gosh.
but you started off personal training, right? And doing
Yeah.
that for a long time. What, probably 8, 9 years, right? Something
Yeah,
of that
pretty
nature.
close. Pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it COVID who got you out of that into like the sales, or was it something that you just said, hey, time for a
Yeah.
change?
Yeah, no. I thought I was always going to be in a gym. Full transparency. So once upon a time, yeah, my background was first hospitality. Realized I couldn't be up till 4 in the morning anymore slinging drinks. Great money, but I still love the grind. So
Bartending, is
then
that what we're talking here?
heck yeah, man. Heck
Heck
yeah. I
yeah.
uh
All
I
right.
shuffled tables and slang the drinks, man. That was my big dream. I thought I was going to be a big mixologist like Cheers, man. I thought
You're
it was
gonna be
going to be
like
the next.
cocktail. You're like Tom Cruise in
Yeah, yeah,
cocktail.
yeah, exactly.
Cheers.
Exactly.
No
With
one
Tom
knows
Cruise.
Cheers on the who's listening to us other than me and you. But I mean,
Do
we're
we just
good.
date ourselves on that
Yeah, I
one?
mean,
Oh
just look
God.
it up. Google it if you have to.
Oh,
Yeah, that's fine.
fantastic. Woody Harrelson at his best.
Woody
But
Harrelson, classic.
oh, good stuff. So nonetheless, yeah, so I actually made the big transition into personal training because I grew up with family was in the military. I was not, I didn't have the pleasure of serving, but of course that grit, that resiliency, that sense of like self-transformation was always embedded in us, especially being an athletic background. And so I was just captivated to training people, to pushing people, to help them elevate, to just see how where I can assist them in growing. Because of course I pointed and they lift. Let's not, I was basically a glorified counter at the end of the day. But nonetheless, it was just a really, really gratifying feeling. Now, come COVID, I was living down in San Diego. Wife and I took the leap from moving from LA down to the beach because going, stuff it everywhere in California is closed down. Let's at least enjoy ourselves. So I kind of opened up my own practice and I was doing a lot of private clients and I come to hear of this company called ServiceNow. And at the time I was completely naive to it. But in that transitional period, I was kind of training a lot of the big head honchos and of course directors, VPs of that nature. And they're just like, man, you got to get behind the phone. I got a face for the phone. So what do I have to do? Then they started telling me exactly what it was, like cold calling and doing all this. I was like, man, I don't know. I don't want to be a sleazy salesman. Then they showed me a paycheck and I was like, where do I sign up? Right. Like
Hey,
it
hang
was as
on,
soon
man.
I was like,
Hey,
as soon as I was like, you do what for how long today? I was working for 12 hours. I was running 16 different locations. I had a kid on the way and I was just like, what am I doing with my life? So again, it was just kind of like that right time, right place, talking to the right people. Now, of course, the funny part is they denied me to work at ServiceNow, so that was even the funny twist. But I had the bug, and I was like, I got the grit, I got the resiliency, brick and mortar styles. I could talk to people. What's the worst that can happen? And now here we are, man. So
yeah,
it's wild.
yeah. That is, I mean, you take a look at backgrounds that make transition into sales. Like my wife's a teacher. I tell her all the time,
Yeah,
you've cost me a lot of money over the years, honey. You could have gone into sales, right? And like, like I know educating our
yeah,
youth, I get it. And by the way,
yeah.
I'm kidding out there. I'm gonna get a
I'm a
DM.
product of that
I
education. Come
guarantee
on,
I'm
man.
gonna
Like,
get a DM. But no, like I mean, I've had multiple people on who have made the
yeah,
transition into various careers, from operations into sales or
mhm,
fitness, um, teaching. Julie Rader, right? Came from
yeah.
teaching now into CS, sales role, right? So, do you think that paradigm is shifting, where it's like,
Mm,
hey, the classic. I have to go to college and I have to come out and then I'm gonna, I'm gonna come in and this is what I'm gonna do. Like I come from a military background and
Yeah.
I would always, I was one to talk to folks and go like now that I've been in it, I go, you have no idea how much you use like in
Mm.
the military into a sales, piece. And you come from that background of the, family being in it. But do you think the mindset is shifting where people get a resume and go, yeah, you know what? Let's chat.
I mean, the reality of it is, I'm really passionate about this because I actually the last thing I look at when I hire and train people is their college degree. And that's in no qualms, not throwing shade at it. Get yours, do you, man. That's
Yep.
awesome. What I look at is more of the qualified applications, right? That communal thing. So it's actually funny. So I actually took a little bit of a deep dive down this rabbit hole one Sunday, and I actually saw that, 4 years into your college application and attendance records have actually decreased in 8% in the last 3 years.
Yep.
So the decline, now the incline to more of what the tech trade and the blue
Hmm.
collar as they knew it
Hmm.
is on an increase of 22%.
Yeah.
So already people are going to that trade aspect of going that practical application.
Yeah.
Sign me up, man. Because of course I live in a blue collar town. I'm like in Boise, Idaho, where I got a union worker, and I don't even know what he does. But anyways, point being, though, it's the times, man. And I think it's becoming to more fruition of it's what you do, not what you have, right? So
Like
I
that. I
believe
mean,
it.
I've seen people. We have a guy at the company I work at now. I want to say he's 20 or 21. I think he graduated college early, came
Yeah,
in, he's crushing,
love
right?
it.
Absolutely crushing. Right. If we could clone him, I mean, we're like we're just rolling, right? I think it has changed. I really do. Now look, I have my son's in college, my daughter's heading off to college, right? I'm gonna be by myself, by the way, me and the wife. We have no idea what to do.
Lucky
Um,
man.
but like it is really interesting to me to see it. Like I would always talk to people like welders. You
Yeah,
can't find a welder who's unemployed. I think after 5 years you're
and
making
paid
seven.
well.
I mean, like 70 or 80 is a common
Yeah,
salary after about 4 or 5 years,
yeah.
right? I mean,
Oh, it's
crazy.
insane. And it's funny because like the price per living to that paycheck is like the differentiator is huge. And you'll find that like again, I'm in bum heck. I'll monitor my cussing, but I'm in the sticks of Boise where the price of living is in the bottom 5-10%. But of course, those paychecks, right? The bottom salary, or excuse me, the base salaries, you're kicking 60 grand around like it's rocks coming out of a 12-week program. And it's nothing
Dude,
to say that they're not good at it, but it's
if I
just
was
like,
22 making 80K, dude, I'd be
we'd
that'd
be
be
in different positions
dangerous.
than we are right
That'd be
now. You know what I
bad,
mean?
man. Like there's a reason why God put me in the
Yeah,
position that He is, right? Let's
yeah,
just
yeah,
stay.
yeah,
Let's just stay right here. All right.
yeah.
So when you made that leap, man, was there ever a moment of like, what the hell have I done? Did I make the right choice here?
My kid was 6 days old when I started my first day at as an SDR. And of course, I had a cushy onboarding. And at that time, gosh, I was my wife wasn't working, but of course, it was during that weird unemployment where she got way too much money. So I was like sitting back, I'm like, this is great. Soon as that 3-month enablement or that onboarding process hit, and you're basically out in the trenches, you're going, why are they all crying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're looking around, you're going, God, what did I do? I thought in the first 5 months, and I remember my wife and I talking about it, I was like, honey, I messed up.
Yep.
I screwed up big time. And
Yep.
of course, like as a parent and as that big transition, right? And I'm sure you know it better than I going from military to sales or whatever that transition looked like. It's jarring, right? Like it's I was shaking in my boots to say the least, but
Yeah.
I got that first glimmer of hope. And of course, I was the first person to say I'm sorry, I'm the first person to say I can't, but I'm the first person to say I'm willing to try.
Hmm.
But I sat up there and I remember walking in and they were like, well, who wants to work the enterprise division? I'm going, enterprise sounds like a sexy word. What does that mean? Tell me. I want to do it.
I don't know what
They're
it
like, but
means. It sounds good, man.
enterprise, I like it. That's they make how much? Cool. And they're like, well, actually, we got the name that counts. Those are the 10,000 plus. And I'm like, show me the door, Martha. Let's do this. I walked in. Oh my God, I was so scared. I was so scared. Still am. But needless to say, I'm so glad I was pushing through. I found found LinkedIn, found a coach, and kind of got through that trench.
And
So
honey, you found a coach. Is that what you said?
yeah. He didn't know it at the time, but he was my coach. He had no idea. I didn't pay him. I didn't. I just
Was
consulted
he
him.
at the company or outside?
No, he was outside. I met him via LinkedIn, and I won't plug him right now, but needless to say, he's still a very, very dear friend of mine, and yeah, made the world of it. Changed my life. I mean, that's the
Just pick
cliche,
his
but
brain for all the sales stuff in the world, kind of thing.
pick his brain or bleed his ear, depending on the day, man. It was one of those things. I was listening to him. I'm like, man, I have heard the FU thing thrown at me 14 times a week. Can you say something nice to me? And he goes, nope. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, but no, he was it was more of a strategic advisor of, when you did, what did you do and how did you feel? And tell me, am I rationale in thinking this? And if I do that, and it was more of like a soundboard collaboration. So
Yeah.
I loved it because again, it's like I grew up as my dad as my coach for most of the time. And you're like, I go home with this. It's the same thing with inside management. When I
Mhm.
found that external, I was raw. I was
Yeah.
honest. I was like, let me just kind of unveil some stuff.
Yeah. No,
And
no, no, man. Look, you take that shit and you throw it out, right? And
yeah.
let's just keep it real. There's a lot of things you said that I want to head to. Like I said, I never get to my
Yeah, please. Sorry, I ramble.
I don't get to my no, don't be sorry at all. I'm a big believer that you gotta find someone outside the company. You gotta find someone out because no
Standard.
matter how much you say, hey, it's outside my org or outside my division, or God forbid they be in the SMB. I mean, you're an enterprise. You don't talk to anybody in SMB. I mean, I'm
Start
saying,
cleaning up the peanut shells.
please, okay, right?
Peasants.
But
Yeah.
again, just kidding to the SMB.
Oh, yeah. No,
Like, don't DM me, please. So but you find someone outside, and I think it gives
yeah.
you a level of freedom and a different perspective, and they have an outside view. 100%. I think everybody should
Yeah.
have that. I actually don't, and I need to, like, as I've taken this leap into a different role, I need to find it. So it's great that you kind of brought that up. But then you said at the 5 month mark, I think in any job, I think you have the honeymoon period of your 90 days, your ramp, whatever the
Mm.
hell you want to call it, right? And then you have this like month 4. That's like, all right, still cool. On month 5, you literally get hit in the face. You're like,
Oh my
hey
God.
man, ramp's over. There's another new guy coming in. Now he gets all the attention or she gets all the attention. And you're kind of just you're like, hey man, like, what about me? Yeah, whatever. Figure it out, man. You're at month 5. And you just get hit. It
Yeah.
happens over and over. I've seen it happen in so many times in so many organizations. Month 5 and 6 are like this reality check that comes in
Yeah. It's
for everybody.
that support and expectation level just goes whoomp, and you're just like, wait a second,
Yep.
hold on, this is preschool?
Right.
What are you talking about? Like, it's like when you drop your kid off for the first time and they're looking around like excited, like, oh, these are my friends. Where the hell did my parent go? I was not ready for this. You know what I mean?
I hope it's not like that, but it
Yeah.
is. That's what happens, right?
Yeah.
Like naturally, you get somebody in, and then all of a sudden, I have someone new or a different project, and then
Yeah.
I think as a manager or as a leader, you're like, oh man, on month 6, you got it, dude. They don't know a thing, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not fair. But it's interesting you said that because I was like, oh, spot on. Month 5 and 6
Yeah.
get hammered, right? And
Yeah.
and a lot of people begin to question, and they shouldn't, right? Because I mean, what we see is that little dip, and then they take off, right? 7,
Yeah.
8, 9, take off.
Month 7, I felt like I was a king. Like I
Sure.
found the kryptonite and I was like, ha, and it was just like, and I think it's the shell shock of prospecting, right? It's kind of like you had the layover accounts from the territory that you inherited, right? You may have had some like the honeymoon accounts, right? It's like,
Yep.
if you go into prospect into a new territory, you've got a couple of these that are in a buying phase. And back then we didn't know what triggers were. But of course you have these kind of ideal accounts and you're like, oh, I can do this. And all of a sudden all those are gone. And you're like, what do I do now? I'm like, prospect. And you're like, crap.
Great. What's that mean, man? Like, what's that going? Right.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my gosh.
I completely get it. All right. You gave me a segue, so I'm going to take it. And I may come back to your sales stuff, but your journey definitely has been one that it's been cool. But let's get into this LinkedIn piece because your stuff straight up funny, right? And
Oh
we
gosh.
said before the show, or whatever the hell you want to call this, right? And before we hit record, it was like, hey, look, can we go there? And you're like, yeah. All right, so let's go there.
Let's do it, baby. I've got no hide.
So
no, let's do
you
it.
poked fun at quote unquote influencers, CEOs that have like, haven't had, been out of like 4 years, but needed like 10 years experience. The guy at the big
Yeah.
org who's talking on cold calling, right? Versus the what was
No
it? The
one's safe.
rep swap. Hilarious, by the way, right?
Thank you. Oh, I know. That's going to come. That's going to
Hilarious.
come. That's going to come.
Hilarious. But so do you think there's good stuff on LinkedIn? Do you think it's a
Oh,
platform that can
absolutely.
really help?
Absolutely. And I'll put this in context. What people don't realize, and maybe they forget, is I never expect people to read the comments, but I'm always making fun of myself,
Yeah.
right? The big person in the org was me. Like I started
Right.
off at Jamf, which, hey, appreciate you guys for giving me the opportunity, but there were 2,200 people in a publicly traded company.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember exiting because again, at that 7-month mark, when I started to catch my stride, people were asking me questions. I'm like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like maybe I, but again, I look back and I'm just like, oh, and not the sense of naivety, but the sense of ego that I had. So again, it's that kind of transparency that I'm actually making fun of myself. And it's in the reception of like, hey guys, it's all good. Like, let's laugh about it. Let's have a good joke and sense about it. Do I press it a little too far? I digress. But I definitely see it as a sense of, I love LinkedIn. It's giving my career. There's no doubt about it. It's giving me my friends. It's giving me connections. It's giving me a path to where I'm at now. It's provided to my family that is unforeseen, potentials and ripple effects. What I do see is that there's two sides to the coin. There's the side that I like to say that we grew up on, where I had to fight my way into it, and there's a side that didn't, and it definitely comes to affluence. Like when you see that, I'm just sitting here, I'm like, oh, well, we don't talk like that in real life. So of course, let me have this kind of sense of character. I'm like, all right, let me show you what I heard, right? And I just have fun with it, man. It's really, at the end of the day, it's the group in the community that are going through a tough time that need to laugh. It's the group and community that are tired of seeing the same BS that needed a little break in that chain.
Dude, I love it. Like I started posting on LinkedIn seriously. Now look, I'm old enough and I've been on LinkedIn long enough to remember this, and I don't know if you do or not, hopefully. I remember when, if you were on LinkedIn, people were like, oh, he's looking for a job.
Yeah.
Right? There
Resume
was I mean, you weren't on LinkedIn at work because people would think you were looking for a job of like, I don't even know if they had even DMs back then. I swear to God. Right. I feel like I'm talking about MySpace right now. Right.
Yeah.
Like it was the same platform, but it was like totally separate. Right. And now I've seen it change into what it is now. I found myself, I started posting probably like 4 years ago consistent. I was like, all right, look,
good for you.
Let's just do this, right? Let's just try and blah, right? And then I read and I was like, oh, we got to do it all sales stuff, and it has to be all emails and the tactics and what to say. And I was like, man, that's not me. Like, I don't like find that stuff engaging. I'd rather talk about mindset or personality or have some fun with something. And like today I posted about like a vision of like the retirement house I want to get. That's just what I thought about, right? And like I look at it now and I go, it should be a place where we have some freedom to make fun of ourselves, right? It should be a place where we have a little bit of freedom to say, hey guys, like we're not a first responder. We are just on, I shouldn't say that. The guys on there, the majority of the people that we connect with.
I've got a couple. Yeah. Right, like, but needless to say. Yep.
Again, my DM, the majority of the audience. But I mean, like our jobs for the most part are not life and death. It is a cold call. I know it's going to get nasty, but we can make fun of ourselves and have some fun with it, right? And I don't know. I find your stuff. The more I did research, the more I started going back to your stuff. I always go back and I always think I can find out a lot about somebody through their posts. I can just go back and see I can see a lot, right? I saw when you got laid off. I saw the.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw that, right? And I don't know. To me, I would encourage you to keep doing it. But have you ever gotten some feedback on that? Like, hey, man, little, like, hey, I don't appreciate it, or a little much, or,
Funny, yeah. I mean, I get blocked. I get blocked a lot, and that's okay. And I think the overarching, I've got no qualms with it. Hey, it's social media. It's the internet, for crying out loud. Like, let's call a spade at the end of the day. But at the same time, look at this in the sense that, without getting preachy, what I miss in society, right, is being able to have two opposing sides in a moral conversation.
Sure.
I've missed that. So when I sit here and I press a narrative of certain subjects, it's because I'm trying to entice a conversation, or I'm trying to press something into the opposing ideal of what you typically see in that said rinse and repeat cycle that LinkedIn typically
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So do I get feedback of people saying it's a little too much? I have gotten one person that said I felt like it was too directed towards me. And I said, interesting, we're not even connected, but I apologize if that was the situation. Again, I digress. But again, my content is for everyone, just like anybody else's. It's so subjective to who's reading. But
Yeah.
there's not one single person I've looked at that going, "Oh, I need to go and call this out." It's literally because either I've done it, I'm doing it, I'm probably going to do it.
Sure.
That's the fact of the matter is.
And look, you said some stuff and I was like, damn, that's me. And then some stuff I'm laughing. I'm like, dude, I've
Yeah.
heard that. Like, I mean, I don't know. To me,
I called out a CTA today. I literally look back and I'm just going, oh God, I hope nobody I've prospected reads this because I just did this like 2 weeks ago. Again, it's for the humor of it because at the end of the day, man, we gotta have a laugh.
And I hope people who are listening, like my takeaway is this: be you.
Yeah.
Be you on here and
100%.
or on here on LinkedIn. Be you on LinkedIn. It goes so far, right? Because people can see you and they appreciate it, and then that's it. And then you figure it out, man. But I thought, look, I don't want to call your stuff edgy. I just want to call your stuff really, really entertaining in terms of what's out there, right? That's what I would.
It's therapy for
right?
me, man. It's therapy for me. I get more no's than I want to in a day, and at the same time, I need a little laugh. So sometimes it's the engagement.
All right, so let's talk about something like not as I don't know, but fun, but definitely a good, I think, learning experience, right? And you shared, some of this on going through a layoff.
Yeah.
And when you look at a new opportunity, do the homework, or as you say, ask for the receipts, right?
Yeah.
And I come from a recruiting background, and I used to, I used to talk on folks and go, hey man, it's a two-way street. You're interviewing them, just as much as they're interviewing you, and do you want to be a part of it? But you said something interesting, like, hey, here are all the questions. You churn and your stack, and hey, like, who's hitting quota and stuff like that. And you said at times it turned people off. It turned the companies off. Why do you think it turned them off?
Yeah, I'll play this into the narrative that we can probably appreciate more. It's in sales, right? When I'm showing my product, I know the uglies. It's like I know what the fall points are.
Yeah.
Am I going to address them head on? No. Am I going to probably avoid them? Probably, because that may lose me the sale. I look at that in the similar situation, and of course, agree or disagree as a recruiter background. I'm going to show the beauty. And as soon as I press the narrative, a lot of times, and again, because I work in early stage, my one-on-ones are usually with the CEO of those that have been there and seen the nurturing. I think the receptiveness is that I'm calling their baby ugly.
Yep.
And it's in full respect. And I get it, right? Like I have my own practice. And if someone were to be pressing my stats and be like challenging me, I'd be like, hey, what the hell? I get it. It's human nature to be protective of what we love or are passionate about. But it's in the simple fact of let's do each other justice and let's call out so we can address it or just be aware of it walking in. And that's just not the climate that is right now. Every company's in a hardship, unless the rarity that you're not, to each his own. This is the wildest market that we've seen in 15 years in the last 18 months. No one's looking for the receipt of going, hey, I'm 5% profitable, 10% plus growth year over year. I'm not looking for that. I just want some sense of honesty so that way I can trust you. I can appreciate you. I can put my livelihood as my family's a one-income dependent. I want to be able to entrust that with you. And if it's subjective to the sense that I am actually overstepping, that's a red flag. It's never on the first date, right? Like I'm not asking the girl out for coffee to be like, so, you know what I mean? I'm not
how many
doing
kids
that.
you want, right? I mean, 3, 2, like, what, right? So I saw the questions that you asked, and I think some of it, like sales stack, I think you said now, percent the quota, there's rep view out there. There's some other stuff out there that kind of, it's all third party. It gives you an idea, right? I think you still have to ask the question. Personally, from me, if somebody is asking those questions, I think more of them, right? Because I think you're dialed in. This is somebody who's dialed in on what to ask. I think it shows confidence in terms of I'm not scared to ask it. And then they have a full picture coming in. So there is no secrets when you get on day 2 and go, oh, by the way, that's not quite all rainbows and unicorns, right? And now, it is what it is. I can't disclose everything I have here, right? I mean, like you
Yeah.
said,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not going to go into every nuance that's wrong. Like I have 10 things that are wrong. I'm not going to go over every one of them, but
Yeah.
if you ask, I'm going to be honest with you and say, hey, look, yeah, I mean, we have to fix it. You're part of the solution. That's why we're talking, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah.
Give me the roadmap of what you want me to solve from the top. Don't just be like, oh, by the way, here you go. Oh, you know what? I forgot about this piece. Oh, you know what? And by the way, here's the like, that's not how the relationship works, or it's not how it should work, in my opinion. I'll be maybe on my own on this one. But if you showed me the roadmap, I'm not going to look at this as going, oh, dear God. It's going to be more like, oh, we got to turn our hat backwards for this one. All right. Yeah, get that six pack, honey. Like, it's going to be one of those conversations.
Yeah.
But I also want to have that understanding that I can trust you, that if I ask you a question, you're going to give me an honest answer. You're not going to try to sell me on something that may break later on in the conversation, or worst case scenario, that may come back and bite me in the ass just because I was naive.
Yeah. There's an element, I mean, you said the word, and I think it's just so key on who you go with. And I've had people, and I didn't understand it until later in my career on that
Same.
gut
Yeah.
feel. I just have a gut feel sometimes, and I would turn down an offer. And I just had a gut feel that it
Mm.
wasn't there. There was something about that relationship that I didn't feel, and like looking back on it, it was trust. I just
Yes.
didn't
Yeah.
trust either the person I was talking to, or I didn't trust the organization. Right? There was
Yeah.
something off in terms of my trust factor. And I think when you take a look at, and you can put it on both sides of the equation, I'm trying to hire somebody now, or I'm going into a role. I mean, that's really it, right? Like,
Hmm.
you can be a great candidate, but if they don't trust you, they're not taking that role, man. I don't care what you offer them or what cool ping pong table you have or like, hey man, you have
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
cool
Yeah.
President's Club trip, right? Whatever. If they don't trust you, then it's out, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's the key part to
And
me.
it's never in your favor. That's the other thing, man. At the end of the day, people are like, well, I think, and it's like, hey, listen, you're the chopping block, not them. Like, let's be honest with each other. So you got to do yourself the favor, right? It's in your interest.
But it's so hard. You're unemployed.
Oh,
You got
hell
a
yeah.
family. You
Oh, hell
have,
yeah.
you've done 100 interviews. You've done 4 presentations. You've gotten, I don't know, jacket on for X amount of things. You've done the
Yeah.
awkward, hey, how are you? Like, and now here's
Yeah.
an
I
offer,
brushed
and
my
now
hair
you're
for
ready
this. Yeah, I
to,
get it, man. Yeah,
and
100%.
now you're ready to bang on them.
Yeah.
I don't know, right? It's a balance, but I think you're correct. You have to go get it. You have to get the receipts, right?
And I'll piggyback on this and saying that like I kind of just came out with this, not this new idea, but I think it's controversial. And actually a couple of buddies of mine have said, well, it's not really well received. And I can understand this, but I really am a firm believer that you should continue interviewing and applying even 30, 60, 90 days after you've accepted a role. I know it's controversial, but guess
Yeah.
what? At the end of the day, guess who's on the chopping block?
It.
So I want to make sure that they're delivering on their promises and
Let me
just like they're
challenge
measuring
you
me.
on. Let me challenge you on that for a second. If you
Yeah,
come
hit
into
me.
this trusting them, do I still have to go out there and interview and do that?
Well,
Because
let me
I
ask
would
you this.
say I would say you're not at 100% trust. I would say
Yeah.
then you're at 95% and you're hedging your bets on that 5%.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I look at this in the, let me hit you with another question. Do you look at trust as a one all be all, or is that subjective to like tiers? Because I look at it as like you earn my trust in a categorical sense. Like, hey, we've worked each other for 6 months. I trust you a lot more than when I've met you for the first time. Do I have entrusting feelings with you? Absolutely. Do I trust that you may have my best priority? Sure. I think it's a progressive motion.
Mhm.
And so in a respective sense, absolutely. Have I been on the receiving side of one that I thought I trust? And then after a couple of months of working with them, I have a different idea, seeing him in a different light. And on the opposing side, most of my friends, I thought they were jackasses when I first met them. And now we're the best of friends because I gained trust over the course of time because of things that we did together or the latter of. So again, I don't think of it as a one size shoe fits all. I certainly am going to be, I've gone through some bad breakups in the last couple, thank goodness I'm at where we're at and I love my people, but we gained trust together, right? Like I started at the fractional role and then that fractional role progressed and then that fractional. So again, it was on both standpoints, a systematic trust building progression.
It's interesting. Yeah, the levels of trust, I think I didn't think about it that way. To me, it's I think I'm all in or I'm not. And that's
I
how I
love it.
kind of think about it, right? And if you lose me, I'm out.
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a hut. You break my trust. If I lose trust in you in some form or fashion, I'm out. Like
Yeah.
as in
No.
gone out, right? I can't, my mind won't let it, my mind won't forget it, right? Is what it comes down to. And I think I'm old enough now just to understand that. I used to try and work around it. You can't. I mean, you can't do it,
Yeah.
right? Can't do it. So understand it. Okay, cool. So check it out. If you're listening to this as a new AE, having your experience now and done some work and kind of seen the people you've seen, folks come to you and you've seen people
Mhm.
work and quite honestly, maybe some didn't work out. What advice are you giving them? What advice are you telling a new SDR who's in that month 3 about ready to exit ramp and here we are?
Run. No. Yeah, I think something I never discovered until my very, very dear friend, I'll plug him, Adam J. He's the man. He's a very, very dear friend. He asked me, what type of seller am I? Or who am I as a seller? Right. And insert verb as you see fit, seller, SDR, leader, whatever that is. And I never thought of it that way. I always thought of it of like, who is my ICP? How can I meet them on their level? And it was very much subjective to who am I on the other side of the table, not who am I in the mirror. Not to get too deep with this, but it was a really interesting understanding of, right, be yourself on LinkedIn. That's kind of the transitional moment I had in my content, but more so in the way that I sell. And it was really insightful. So I started to really understand, and I suggest everybody doing this, especially in the first 30 days, 60, 90, or whatever it is in your career, is to understand yourself in that said role. Who am I as a seller? Who am I as a cold caller? Who am I as a prospecteer? It very much kind of aligns you with, okay, now I'm able to meet the other person on the other side of the table, right? I'm gonna use a cliche of like, you can't give what you don't have. And I look at this as a cup full, cup half empty kind of situation. I can't serve in the best interest of if I don't have that already instilled in me. Whether that be confidence, values, morals, principles, plays, the knowledge, the understanding, the ability to be curious, insert as you see fit. But it really became this kind of monumental moment of going, oh, okay, I understand myself in this role. Oh, you know what? Now I can start to progress. Now I feel comfortable in doing this. And it really became that milestone-esque style of just transforming into a career, not just a position that I'm doing or a service I'm providing or a product that I'm selling. Um, yeah, long-winded answer. Discover
No,
yourself,
that's spot
apply
on, dude.
that.
I shut my mouth and listen because that's it. I tell on every one of these, every one I've done I don't know, a few now with some really, really good people.
Good for
And
you.
I always find there's like 30, 40, 50 seconds, minute of where I go, that's it right there. If
Hmm.
if I'm gonna take one thing away, I don't think that's a new person answer, by the way, right? I can be in a job for 8 years and say, hey, wait, that applies to
Yeah.
me, right? I mean, that makes
Yep.
me think, oh, wait a second, what kind of like, wait, what kind of guy am I? Like, what kind of a
Where's the
director of
man in the
sales am
mirror?
I?
Yeah.
Right? And being new to the role, I go, well, shit, maybe I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to that back when I do the editing. I always listen to it back and I always kind of write down some things that I take away. Because me personally,
I appreciate it.
I take away I like to take away about 3 things out of this. Out of
Hmm.
everyone I do, I take away 3 things. That's one of them right there. Right. I'm
I
gonna take
appreciate
that
it.
away and go, okay, all right, think on that, Dave. Right? Sit on the porch, have my favorite beverage, and try and figure out Crystal Light. By the way, plug for Crystal Light.
Oh, there you go.
That's
There you
my
go. Mine's
that's my
Liquid Death
favorite
these
beverage.
days.
So
Liquid Death, mango flavored, hands down.
Liquid Death.
That's the way to
Shout
go,
out to
baby.
Liquid Death for a non-sponsorship. By the way, that's fine.
And if they're
If you
looking
do
for
want
a
to sponsor, that's
sponsorship,
fine too. That's fine too. But if not, it's cool.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure I'll get a
love it,
call
love
from
it.
Liquid Death tomorrow. That or not.
I'm
But
open to it. I'm open to it.
you're right. That's right. So, all right. Well, check it out. I always like to end with a little bit of fun, right? We're probably a little bit long, but I could go on forever. Let's have a little bit of fun. First off, so who did your decorations, man? Like your paint job, like a
we
quality interior design. And for those of
we
you
move in
not
a month
watching on
or
YouTube, there's nothing on his shelves. Literally nothing.
we move in a week. So I literally
Oh,
have
that
all my
sucks.
pictures and all my stuff. So you
Oh,
caught
that
me in that
sucks.
transitional moment where I actually called it out in the video I posted the other day. It was like, yeah, I had a beautiful background in the intro, and then you cut to the actual thing that I'm seeing. I rinsed and repeated that intro. beautiful. It was decorated, and I had pictures right here of my son and my dog, and then now I'm sitting here like, how tall can I get so he
My
doesn't see
son
it?
and my
Like,
dog. Yeah, the wife. Hey, no, no, you don't
my
make
wife
it.
decorated it. She's not going to put that up. She has
Not gonna
herself right
put
there
it.
in the front view
My
of
wife's like,
it.
"Where's my picture?" I was like, "In my wallet, honey." Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
from
yeah.
like 20 years ago or something,
It's right
right?
here, honey. Yeah, we got that, you know.
Right. Like, look. So, favorite meal. I know you're into fitness, but
Oh
I'm just
gosh.
curious, man. Like, what are you
Oh
going?
man.
Like, what are you rocking for a favorite meal? What your 200 grams of protein? Is that what you're gonna tell me? Right?
Oh, not even close,
Please
man. I haven't
don't.
lifted in over a year, man. My kid has been running me through the windmill. 2.5. Love him to death, but my gosh, I'm ready to turn these bags into something else. But I always plug in Dino Nugs, man. Dino Nugs and broccoli. No, I'm just kidding. Burgers, man. I'm an old school burgers and beer guy, man. I love
Damn.
me a good IPA and a good burger, man.
Ooh.
You find me one with a good old American burger, you got my number.
All right. So, last question that's actually not on the comical side. So, what's in store for you in like the next like year? Like, what do you have planned?
Man, we got kids, man. I didn't even know what you're doing tomorrow. Like, no, I'm working with a great company. I won't plug them, but you guys can find that out for yourselves. We're in a great trajectory growth where I've been on this path with them for the last 5 or 6 months. Now full time, and we're gonna see this baby to the top. I'm really bullish on it. They've shown their cards, they've earned my trust. There we go, full circle. And I'm working my ass off, and I'm working what little hair I have left on my head to make sure that that gets to it. So that's my interim professionally, personally. Gosh, I don't know, man. I don't know. Whatever the
Hanging
kid
on.
desires. I don't even know what I'm doing after this call, man. We're probably
Dude,
going to go
I know.
throw the shit kickers on and throw some rocks in the creek. Who
I
knows? I
mean,
don't
dude,
even
that's what
know,
you do
but
in Boise, right? Like, I mean, I have to go cut my
right.
grass. I don't even know where my daughter is. She probably has my ATM card.
I
Yeah,
love it.
I told you, like, as they grow up, all they do is the ATM card. I got a bill from like Starbucks online. I was like,
Yeah.
well, how's that possible? You don't have my ATM card. Oh, your card was in my phone. Like we talked about the facial recognition,
Yeah, right. That
right?
little clip.
Damn
Yep.
phone got me, right? I'm like, all right, there's
I
nine
love
dollars
it.
you owe me that I'm never gonna get back, but that's fine.
I
So
love it. That's why we do it
either
though, right?
way. Well,
I
look,
can't
man,
wait for that time.
it is look, man, I got about 2.5 months to go before she's off to college, and then I'm going to sit here and you have to, I don't
Do a
know, like
lot
the
more of these.
allergies, the allergies may kick in,
Oh, I
right?
love it. Good
We'll
for
get
you.
there. Well, look, thank you so much, man. We did this. Like, I could not have asked for a better half hour.
Oh man, I appreciate that.
I'm super stoked to listen to this back tomorrow, do the edits, get it out, and thank you again, man. Your stuff. If you guys aren't following Eric, please do. Like, go check him out. Like, his stuff is damn
Enter at
funny,
your
and
own
if you need a
risk.
laugh, it's funny, and you also have some good. I mean, there's other real quality stuff in there as well, but your funny stuff is funny, like
I
legit
appreciate
funny.
that.
So
I appreciate that. It's fun for me, man. And I'll plug it in for anybody else that's listening, man. I'm making fun of myself. You all just, it's the internet at the end of the
don't
day,
hate,
man.
yeah,
We got to
don't
have a good
hate on
time.
them. Just don't, and just send them to me. All right, guys.
Oh,
Well,
no, I
look,
love
thank you
it.
so much for joining us, Eric. Thank you again. We're back next
Pleasure,
week. I'm gonna
man.
do my edits. I'm gonna crank these out. I got some stupid guests lined up that are really cool. So that's
I
it,
love it. Look
guys.
forward to
Take
it.
care. Be safe, Eric. Thanks, man.
Always a pleasure, brother. Take care.